to the ForRealSportsFans.com podcast. This is the Super Bowl edition. I'm your host, Shannon. I'm joined by Ray, Randy, Troy, and Kevin. Guys, let's get it started.
You got the Harbaugh brothers, you got Patrick Willis, you got Ray Lewis. Both defenses are stout. And what do y'all think about that?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and pick a little bit more based on my heart than my mind. I'm going to pick the 49ers because I'm picking Randy Moss to finally win the ring that he never got. The fact that he came out today or yesterday and said he's the best receiver of all time is weird. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I don't know if I agree with it. He's my favorite receiver of all time, but I don't consider him the best. Especially with him wearing a 49ers jersey saying that, it's just crazy. But, that's just a theory. With Jerry Rice, we know what he did, you know what I'm saying? But if you say something like that, you got to back it up. And I got a feeling that, him just getting like 80 yards and a touchdown will kind of back that up at his age. But also, the combination of Frank Gore, who put together a great game in Atlanta, and that backup, LaMichael James, man, I love that 1-2 combo. I think they could give the Ravens a little bit of hell if they consistently run that ball. And then you have a middle linebacker in Patrick Willis, who is, 10, 12, 14 years younger than Ray Lewis. So I see him as much more of a machine dominating at his position than Ray Lewis can. And then I'm also pulling for Dante Whitner, So it would be good to see the 49ers win. I think they can pull it out, with a good game plan. If the coach steps it up and just executes in terms of calling the right plays at the right time, chewing up the clock when they got the advantage, they shouldn't have as big of a struggle. And then let me just also add as the last second that Mike Smith from the Atlanta Falcons should be absolutely fired without question. To lose that game with a 20-point lead, with those two running backs they have, he should be out of here. But that's another story. But I just want to let you know that. Thanks. First and foremost, before I even give you my prediction, I want to know why you're rooting for Dante Whitner. Anyway, let me get into my prediction. Let me go ahead and say he's a hard hitter. He doesn't have the best coverage. He doesn't have the best coverage, but when the linebackers and the defensive ends, Andre Smith, I believe his name is, if I'm not mistaken, he's a beast, man. He had 20 sacks or 19 and a half. When they limit the quarterback to 3.5 seconds a time, 3 seconds a time, drop back pass, Dante Whitner to cover. He can do that then. But you're right. As soon as the quarterback scrambles and gets some more time, he doesn't. Yeah, the only reason why you're bringing up Dante Whitner is the effort, man. He got the effort in there. Is because he needs to play for the Buffalo Bills. Let's just keep it 100. That's the reason why you brought up Dante Whitner. But never mind that right now because we are not going to talk about. I don't bring up Nate Clemens. He used to play for the Bills, and Nate Clemens is. All right. First and foremost, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm rolling with Baltimore, and I think the key is you made a whole lot of valid points. It's going to be the key of Frank Gore because everybody remember. Baltimore has been having problems stopping the run all year long, especially when they lost, LaMichael James, baby. They give LaMichael James 10 carries, and that game could be over. But I'm not cutting you off, sir. No, but their run defense has been horrible. Even when they lost Ray Lewis and Nada, they still, it was like horrible, stopping the run. So I think that could be a big key, even with a healthy Ray Lewis and Nada back. I still think the running game is going to be key. If Baltimore could stop the run of Frank Gore and LaMichael James, I think everything is going to shift. They're going to be basically back on Joe Flacco, pulling it out with Anquan Bolden, and also with Torrey Smith, and the rest of the guys, they could go ahead and try to pull it out. And it's going to be a real close Super Bowl, but my heart is telling me Ray Lewis is going to get one more and, retire, and, the perfect way to, retire, and go ahead and, leave the game after 17 years with 2 Super Bowls and going down as one of the best linebackers of all time. Well, what about you, Herschel?
I was just about to speak. Okay, of course, I'm going with my heart. My mind, too. I'm going with Baltimore. I see, Baltimore had 2 weeks to recover as far as injuries. Ray Lewis still a little bit hurt from his arm, from his bicep injury, and also Terrell Suggs has been limping from an ankle injury. I think them two right there, plus everybody else in that defense, gonna shut that run down of Gore and the other running back, which is his name was Michael James. I think they're gonna shut that down as soon as the quarterback, Colin Kaepernick, am I saying it correctly? Yeah, as soon as he leaves that pocket, he's gonna get blasted. Plain and simple. And he's gonna leave the pocket because he has happy feet. But I think the biggest key with Baltimore is going to be Ray Rice and Flacco. They cannot, the coaches cannot let Flacco try not to lose the game. You gotta let him play. Once you let him play, he starts throwing the ball downfield. They get mad yardage from Bolden and Torrey Smith. I'm Baltimore all the way, plain and simple.
And you know what? I also want to go ahead and piggyback on that for a minute. I want to go ahead and remind everybody he's out. Joe Flacco has outplayed Peyton Manning and Tom Brady in back-to-back weeks. So it's not going to be that hard for him to go ahead and do the same against Kaepernick. Regardless if Kaepernick gets how many yards he's going to get rushing, because that's going to be an option all game long, which is going to be a problem for a limpy T. Suggs and then when Lewis walks in the backfield. So I mean, I'm telling you, I think you have three top-notch runners in that San Francisco jersey versus 1.5 over there in Baltimore. You're absolutely right, man. But I just think those runners help the coach out so much, because when it's 2nd and 5, you got options out the ass. You know what I'm saying? Because you got all these runners. You got the quarterback, you got 2 running backs. I love Michael James, man. I mean, he looks like C.J. Spiller. Maybe last year, C.J., but here we go again. Nope, stop. I got to stop you again. You said C.J. Spiller. We wasn't going to talk about that. You get the lead in the league, average runners in the whole NFL. You made the Pro Bowl. When he's comparing him to a Pro Bowl player, I don't understand. Hey, you can compare him to anybody but anybody on the Buffalo Bills, buddy. That's what I'm saying. Listen, this is about winners right now. We talk about Super Bowl. And if we're going to talk about Super Bowls, I do not want to hear anything about 4-time losing Buffalo Bills players. We're talking about San Francisco and we're talking about Baltimore. Let's go.
Yeah.
Vincent Garrett should be fired. But just jumping off of what you said about Flacco outplayed Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. Well, he didn't do that until the second half. They got to stop doing that. You got to let that boy go as soon as the game starts.
Yeah, that's a good point.
This is an outcome. I think this is a breakout basically postseason for Flacco because he's been getting all the flack saying that he can't do it in the playoffs. And going back to last year AFC Championship, y'all play at Brady. And then this year playoffs, he's been doing the thing. So it's all that talk about he can't get it done in the postseason and everything, it's starting to come to fruition right now. And he's basically doing everything that everybody's been wanting him to do. So I gotta give the kid credit, man. I mean, this time last year we were saying Joe Flacco is in that second tier of quarterback. Right now, if you go ahead and win this game, man, you got to put him up there with your Eli Manning and Peyton. I just got to say that he's due for a bad game, man. I got to tell you, I just feel like he's due for a bad game, but I am proud of him. Because you're right, man. He has been balling. He's been balling. I'm proud of him. So is Colin. Colin due for a bad game, too. That's due for a bad game. But you can't say that he had a great game against Atlanta. His game was almost subpar. It was quite average.
Who, Kaepernick?
They pulled it out. That's why coach of Atlanta Falcons had that game done, and he has to be fired. I know it's hard to fire a guy who got you the NFC Championship, but the point of the matter is he was on a hot seat the game the week before that. So I don't see why he's exonerated one game 6 days, 7 days later. I don't see what the difference is, I would fire the guy personally. Because he's going to lose the game, he's going to lose everything. But the coach from Atlanta, that's 2 years straight for him doing that. It could be 3 years. I just know 2 years straight for him doing that, losing in the playoffs when he should have won. He should have been fired. That on the sideline. This is what I'm telling you. I live here in Atlanta, Georgia. I live here in Atlanta, Georgia, and he was out on television the week before, during the bye week, the wild card series. He was out by saying basically he's on the hot seat.
Okay,
That's all right.
Back to the question I had. Randy, you said you're going Baltimore, Kevin going San Francisco. I'm going Baltimore. Ray, who you going with?
I'm gonna go with Baltimore. It might be my heart talking, over my head, but I'm gonna go with Baltimore because the whole Ray Lewis factor, and Baltimore been knocking on the door for like at least the last 4 to 5 years. It's just to get to this point, and so I don't think that they're a team that's almost destined. They got destiny on their side. Plus, I don't think that they're gonna be affected as much as maybe a young Colin Kaepernick in the 49ers. You got a Kaepernick that's in his second year in this league, and it might work to his advantage because he don't know any better. But going out for that first drive, it might just hit him, and that pressure right there, and that could change the game. Just in those first 5 to 7 minutes in the game. So I think. Plus, also, I don't think Vernon Davis is going to be the factor that he was in last week's or 2 weeks ago game against the Falcons. The Falcons had a hard time stopping Zach Miller, and they had a hard time stopping Vernon Davis. I just believe that Ray Lewis. They always say he's like the Peyton Manning and Tom Brady of the defense. I feel that he's going to be, the brains of that whole defensive operation. And I feel like he's going to figure it out.
Baby.
Yep.
3 against 1. And I think that their running game at San Francisco is going to prove the underdog. He's in the Baltimore Ravens defense in their office right now because I'm telling you, come Super Bowl Sunday, we're going to see the best of both teams. We're going to see the best of San Francisco and the best of Baltimore.
I think that Ray Lewis will have a game of his life. Yes, I think Ray Lewis had a game of his life. Terrell Kelly touching the passes, and Ray Lewis going to stop the run. Even though he's older now, I think it's going to of course he's going to have help. I think they're going to stop the run completely. They're going to force.
I don't see how you guys can see that Patrick Willis is going to have a tougher time stopping the run than the Ray Lewis. The running game and with the Ravens is not as great as the one in San Francisco. They're younger in San Francisco on both sides of the ball. Patrick Willis is coming to the head as a middle linebacker at 25, 26. That's your prime. I definitely think it's passing the torch. I think Ray Lewis will be passing the torch to Patrick Willis at the Super Bowl, but for that one game, in the passion and the emotions that's going to be built up for this one game, I think I have to go give it with Baltimore. Just for the motivation of Kevin.
Recently, people have been discussing Ray Lewis and his Christianity and whether or not he's genuine. Guys, do you think that Ray Lewis is kind of putting on a front, or that his Christian beliefs and the way he displays his religion on the field is truly genuine?
I got no problems you talking about Jesus or crying. The more of that once you get into the locker room and not immediately as soon as the game's over, it was a distraction for the whole team because he just acted so extra, man. It was just extra. It's the only way I can describe it. Yeah. You know what? Speaking of that, I actually want to talk about this too. Like, yeah, I understand everything what you're saying about the emotion and the crying about Jesus, and I get all of that. But somebody made a name, a bigger name than what he's supposed to have by doing the exact same thing. We call him 10 people. And with that, right? And with that, he basically, he's a backup quarterback. And he basically made a name like he's a star. And he basically was a star. Leading the jersey seller last year for the NFL and all of that. And because he used to go ahead and score a touchdown and go and do the T-boy. So it's the same thing with that. That's on a bigger stage now because we're actually talking about a real star who can actually really play. And he's at the Super Bowl. So of course it's going to be a little bigger, but at the same time, it's somebody who actually made their whole career out of doing the exact same thing we're talking about. And when you say whole career, you mean their entire pro career. Entire. Exactly. He's got 3 pass completions in his whole damn career. Randy, I agree with you, and I apologize to anybody here on this whole cast. If you took it that way, I seriously, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior too, right? I don't mean it that way. It's such a thin line. It's hard for me to describe it. But what I'm really saying is, he was on the ground for 15 minutes with a circle around. But that's what I think. Okay, look. In the wild card game, if you guys remember the wild card game he won, he was just crying. You know, like smiling all over the board. You haven't been here before. What I'm saying, like, what is he? I couldn't believe when he was so theatrical. Is what I'm trying to say. Not that, you know, he shouldn't be talking about his Lord and Savior, because that's fine with me. I thought the theatrics of it was a bit much, if that makes any sense. Because that circle around him the last game, he went to commercial and interviewed somebody and went into the locker room and came back, and he was still on the ground with his frustration on it.
I think I understand.
For a person who's already got a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, I think I understand.
That's what I'm saying, but
Yeah, I think I. You got it.
Get into the match. I want to get into the matchup. Who is my man Ed Reed going to be on? Is he going to be on Davis, or is he going to be on Crabtree, or Randy Moss? You can play anybody out of the old now.
You gotta understand, he's a safety, so a safety covers everyone, and he's a strong safety. So anyone who veers to the right side of the field, he's going to have to pick up in coverage, but he's a help. A strong safety is a help. He's not a cover, so he's not going to cover. The only guy he might have to cover a few times is Davis. Because the tight end isn't always accounted for.
But that's what I'm saying, though. I wonder if Kaepernick is he's going to really go onto that side of the field, because that's what Tom Brady did. He didn't even throw the every side.
Nah, he's too young. He's too young to know the difference. That's why I think that the focus matters.
He's going to make some big mistakes if he throws to that side.
Yeah.
With that running game, he's made a couple of mistakes. I mean, he had an interception in his last couple of games, and he acted as if it was no big deal at all. Like, it was almost like you can't even remember the interceptions he threw.
Yeah, but with Kaepernick.
Big mistake last week, and he had a terrible first half as a quarterback. He just plays as if it didn't even matter, man. So he won me over. As long as the coach can fix it right, you know.
Because he has absolutely nothing to lose. They gave him a big opportunity to step up to be the starter, and that's exactly what he's done. He's been a starter. He's been having phenomenal games, crazy games. What is it? This is second year in the league?
Yeah, second year, but first year starting.
Yeah, but you can't say that now. Now, being in the Super Bowl, you have everything to lose. I don't care if you just started playing yesterday. When you look at a guy like Randy Moss, who doesn't have a ring, who calls himself the best receiver of all time while wearing a 49ers jersey, but you know what? I can't to lose. You got two brothers playing each other in the Super Bowl. Whether it's on you or not, the pressure's there. You know? Imagine being a losing brother, though, man. You gotta live forever knowing that the first time you went to the Super Bowl, or maybe only time, you had to go against your brother, and then you was the loser, and not knowing if you would ever make it back there. It's gotta be a tough pill to swallow, man. Because that's something the coaches is really thinking about when they go home. Imagine being a quarterback who had 2 or 3 turnovers, and the game was, only lost like 3 or 4 points. And you watch that brother that's pissed off and crying in the corner, and it's your fault. So he's got a whole lot to lose, man. He's got a whole lot to lose.
Let me ask y'all a question, and I'm gonna give you my top 5 on this. But I mean, since we're talking about the whole Randy Moss comment about him being the best receiver of all time, what's your top five? Who are your top five receivers of all time? And I guess.
I brought it up.
Yep.
I'll start it off.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you like this. I'm rolling with Randy, but I know Randy Moss that is, not this clown that's on him. Not that dude. But Randy Moss. I'm rolling with him, and I know he's not the greatest. I know it. But it's like Barry Sanders. To me, when I see Randy Moss and I see Barry Sanders at the top of their game in those highlights, they're equally, it's almost like just, if a space alien with all this supreme knowledge and advanced technology came down to earth, how unfair it would be. When Randy Moss was on top of his game, like the lateral pass at the line of scrimmage against the Dallas Cowboys, where he just literally undressed Deion Sanders and ran for 60 yards, and they wound up getting rid of Deion Sanders that season. He had like 3 touchdowns or 3 catches. The stuff he did was so amazing. Like, I've never in my life seen a receiver do anything close to it. But it just didn't last long enough with his problem. And it's the same with Barry Sanders, but I'm still putting him number one because if you happen to get Randy Moss within that 11-year span, then you were a one lucky team. So I understand why people say he's not, but to me, I've just never seen that kind of wow factor. He broke records like his first 3-4 years in his career. He broke the receiving record, single receptions, touchdowns. He did that, just for one season, but that's a pretty big deal, It's just too bad that every time he played in an NFC Championship or a Super Bowl up until this year, his quarterback could not get him the ball. And if coach wasn't calling the right kind of plays to make it happen, because Randall Cunningham couldn't pass him the rock and he was wide open. And the same thing wound up happening with the 18-1 Patriots. He was wide open every play, but hell, if you're playing against the best defensive line in the world, maybe you should stop trying to throw the long ball and maybe drop back and do a nice little draw play. But, Belichick thinks he's the smartest man in the world. He'll think of that. Who are your other 4 picks? Oh, it's obvious. It's in no particular order. Randy Moss is just my favorite. He's my number 1. But Terrell Owens, Jerry Rice, as much as I hate the Cowboys, Michael Irvin is, thank you. That's all you got to say. Thank you. Michael Irvin, seriously. Troy Aikman was an absolute bum in my book, and he made him look like a superstar. And then Chris Carter was a bum in your book? Yeah, that's what I got to say. And Chris Carter, right. Chris Carter and Andre Reed were like one and the same to me. They were tied for that top 5 spot. Okay, so you said, now I'm about to give you my 5, because I've heard enough. First and foremost, how can you roll? Okay, but we picking 5 greatest wide receivers of all time. I'm doing my 5. And first, I'm going with Michael Irvin. Oh my God, what? And this is no particular order. Okay. Michael Irvin. No, but you got to I got to go 1. You got it. My number 1 is Jerry Rice. But you got your number 1 receiver. Okay, my number 1 is Jerry Rice. Numbers don't lie. The same thing I say about Emmitt Smith, the greatest running back. Numbers don't lie. Anyway, let me pick all my receivers right now. Like I said, numbers don't lie. The proof is in the pudding. You got to go with Jerry Rice as the number 1 all time. After that, again, numbers don't lie. Number 2, I will go with T.O. or Michael Irvin. I wish I'd give Michael Irvin the nod for the simple fact he got 3 rings. So after Jerry, I'll go with Michael. And then after Michael, I'll go with T.O., Randy Moss. And then I will go with this guy that nobody really even talks about. But remember, in the early 90s, this is the only guy they had, and he wasn't even a wide receiver at tight end. I'll go with Sterling Sharp. Yeah. You know what? At one point, I used to call them the Green Bay Sharks. Sterling Sharp over Andre Reed.
Man, that's my 5
right there. Okay, I got 5. Of course, number 1 all time, Jerry Rice. Number 2, I like Sterling Sharp. Because he would have broke all the Jerry Rice records if he wouldn't have got hurt.
Yeah.
3, my number 3 wide receiver.
Tim Brown. Some of numbers don't lie. He got a lot of numbers for every team. Ford. Off the slant routes, but yeah, that. Whatever. Ford. Wide receiver. I can't remember his name. Don't you say it. Are you going to say Art Monk? No, I never seen him play. No, I'm talking about wide receivers when we were growing up. Ones that we seen play. Are you gonna say Steve Tasker? We saw Art Monk. No, not saying Steve Tasker. I'm sorry, Chris Carter. And Randy Moss. That's the top. That's my top five. Who's yours, Ray?
My top five right here. Jerry Rice, number one. Number two, I will go with Randy Moss. Just because the impact that he had on the game. Even though, you can point to the Oakland days, when he didn't do much, or you can point to this year. You can point to the year that he retired 2 years ago. But in between those times, when teams play him, you feared them. If you're the opposing team, you feared them. And, as a Cowboy fan, you already know the 3 touchdowns on Thanksgiving Day when he was a rookie. That just sticks in my mind already. Then you have number 3. I'm going to go with my man Michael Irvin. I'm going to go with the playmaker, 3 Super Bowl rings, and the leader of that team. Number 4, I'm going to go with Terrell Owens. Forget the antics. He was a great player. And, and like you said, numbers don't lie. He's up there in the top, 3 or 4 as far as numbers. So, and then number 5, I think that Sterling Sharp, that is very intriguing right there. It's just that he's almost like Gale Sayers. It just didn't last. No one really will put that on like top 5, but
I did already. I said he was tied with Chris.
Oh, okay, yeah. And I say Reed. I say Reed over Chris Carter for me because Chris Carter. Yeah. Yeah, you had to. Yeah, I understand with the rings, but here's the thing though. If we're gonna bring rings into it, it's like, okay, Andre Reed did get to the Super Bowl 4 times. Chris Carter did not get to the Super Bowl at all. That's one thing. And he had a chance in '98 to make it to the Super Bowl with him, and he's opposite of Randy Moss. Now, if you're supposed to be this big-time receiver, best of all time, or at least top 5 in the discussion, and all you do is catch touchdowns and all that, he didn't make an impact. I felt like he was more of a...
Yeah, I believe Atlanta won that year. Atlanta won that year. What's the name of the coach, that running back, Robert Smith? He got hurt.
Yeah.
He was always hurt, though. He was always hurt. They should have drafted him. But remember that team in '98, though, man? They had Randy Moss, and Chris Carter, like Ray said. If you do it, was 40 years old. Ray was 40 years old almost. And we can say that now, but he was in the NFC Championship game. He was one game away from the Super Bowl. So that really didn't make no difference. And at the same time, like Ray said, if Randy Moss considered himself the best ever, how you were going to impact you or Chris Carter together? No, Randy, come on, let's dial it back a second. Wait a second. I picked him as my favorite. I know you can. No. I'm talking about his statement. I'm talking about Randy Moss' statement. I'm talking about his statement itself. I'm going to argue for him because I put him as my number 1. So I'm trying to explain to you. I understand why you could have him at number 1. That's self-explained. But I'm about to tell you about that game. And he was wide open the entire game. With 40-year-old Randy
Cunningham couldn't get him the ball, and the running back was hurt, so he had no choice of the run. In the whole first quarter, they dropped back the pass and launched it in the air, and every time it was like 3 yards short. Or, you know what I mean? Randall Cunningham, I have a perfect memory of that NFC Championship. And it was against the Atlanta Falcons. Their secondary was damn near terrible. And they were wide open, but those linebackers and defensive ends, Cornelius Bennett, I believe, and crew, was getting at him. It was getting at Cunningham ass. And he couldn't quite get the ball to him. But Randy Moss was wide open, and it was so ironic, because that was his second year in the league, that you feel bad. But, 11 years later, that a great freaking Tom Brady against the, have we ever in our lifetime seen a better defensive line than those damn New York Giants, New York football Giants with straight hand that came back, Humaniora and Tuck, and good Lord. And Belichick was so stupid that he kept dropping back the pass, and it was the same shit. Randy Moss was wide open, but he just couldn't get him the ball because he was getting his lunchbox ate up by straight hand, Humaniora, Tuck, and whoever else, Pierre Paul, whoever they had drafted that year. Everyone was getting to Tom Brady's ass. And that's just, it was the second same story. Randy Moss, 30-plus yards down the field, wide open. But, that ain't easy getting him the ball because you got to be able to hold that rock for at least 4 seconds just about to get it to him. And with those kind of defensive pressures, that wasn't going to happen. It was like the same kind of thing, and it's just, it is what it is. I think that if Belichick would have gotten him that ring, then he would arguably be at least like number 2 or 3 on almost a unanimous list. But now he's looking at 4 or 5 on most people's list. I put him at number 1 because I can remember the days when I saw him do things I've just never seen other people do, except for maybe Sterling Sharp. But Randy did it just longer, But that damn Randy Moss it's incredible to me. But they just never won anything. Like you said, they never won anything. And every time he had success, it feels like the very next year he was either left the team or he switched quarterbacks,
Yeah.
But he did unfortunately he went to New England. He moved it up. They both broke records that year too. It was the first 2 years, I believe. What was the touchdown record he broke? How many 50 touchdowns? Well, that was crazy. Randy Moss had about 25 of them touchdowns. He had the record too for having 25 touchdowns. That's why I can respect every single one of you guys list to put him at number 5 or number 4 because his mental breakdown caused that. Saying, you know what? I'm gonna get paid regardless. And if they don't give me a new contract, they're gonna have to put the franchise tag on me at wide receiver, which is a guaranteed $60-something million, and I'm fine with that. Just for one season. But his mental lapse. I remember the first year in the second round in Minnesota. It was a waste. And then he went to Tennessee and wasted that too. It was 3 teams he went to, man, where he was just like a waste. He was like, it was a mental breakdown, and his body was still able to give you 1,000 yards. Maybe not 1,400, 1,500, but he could easily give you 1,000 yards per season. Those 3 years that you talk about, Randy, you're absolutely right. But his mental breakdown in New England caused them to get rid of him. And he told Tom Brady, it was like a girl, which it did, because Tom Brady was fit. Everybody knows. And Belichick said, but they didn't. They wanted to see what you was going to do, Randy. And so you just sucking it up, putting the uniform on, and punching that time clock like everybody else for the company. You didn't understand what was going on, But the fact of the matter is they won 18-1, and that damn sure ain't his fault. It was the coach and the quarterback thinking they're better than the game. Instead of just playing X's and O's, you run your ass some draw plays against that lightweight defensive line, which is like the best defensive line for a pass rush ever assembled. But if they had run a few draw plays, that Super Bowl would have been completely different. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
And on top of that, they had Corey Dillon as a running back who was solid anyway. Just been giving the ball to him all night.
Yeah, that's true. And then they had your boy, the backup with the dreads. I forget his name. He wasn't that great after that. But his first 2 years in the league, he was one of the best rookies, young running backs out there. They had a nice 1-2 combo as well. I forget the guy's name, but Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis? No, before that. He was the guy they drafted. He was skinny. He was each other form. No, I can't remember, but he was the guy they drafted. He was skinny. He was each other form. No, I can't remember, but it'll come to me later. But he was a young guy. He wasn't that great, but as a rookie, I was thinking like it was his rookie season, and he was like one of the best rookie running backs coming off the bench, and he would have been perfect. You know, those skinny running backs on the draw play are perfect, especially when they're a rookie, because when you're in a game on the 2nd and 8, the defense just assumes it's a pass. So they did a few draw plays at the key times in the second half of the game. Man, that was just threw the defense off balance, and they didn't do it. You know, it was the same time. You know, like he got drafted, I think, with Jerry Noah of the Falcons, and I cannot remember the guy's name, but never mind. They didn't mess that up. Yeah, well, how did your predictions go for the conference championship? Exactly. So let's go back to what we're seeing right now. All he did was run the ball. Carlos Rogers was ready to go, and he just didn't give him the damn ball. Hey, man, they was up 17-0, man. I mean, after that, it's almost like saying you needed one more play. Everything exactly as I predicted into the end. Everything happened just like I knew it would. And that's my prediction. But that's what Flacco, a.k.a. Pretty Flacco, is going to prove y'all wrong because he's due for a 2-turnover game, which is not like catastrophe, but it's too much for the Super Bowl. But you know what? Even with 2 turnovers, man, they could easily get that back because it is a Super Bowl, man. That pressure. Now they've never been in before. San Francisco gets over 250 yards rushing. That sounds great, but they have to get it. And the thing is, if you've never been there, that pressure, you got to go against the pressure, and then you got to play the game. That right now. Let me give us 250 yards rushing. I'll put some money on that. You guys, we're talking as a team. We're talking Kaepernick with 60 yards rush, possibly. And you're talking two running backs, all they got to do is get 190 after that. I can see that easy. Only 190 rushing. Yeah, not going to get it. Kevin, this ain't Madden, the video game. Super Bowl. Not even Madden. That's technical numbers right there. That's my prediction. They got 3 rushers. They got 3 rushers when you add the quarterback under the age of 25 years old. Damn, that's the winner of the game right there. But if you thought that way, why did you pick Atlanta over San Francisco? If you thought that way, what you just said, why would you pick Atlanta over San Francisco? All Atlanta had to do was run the damn ball in the second half. He kicked field goals and the game is over. But they passed the ball instead of giving it to Carlos Rogers in a long ball. The play had 2 turnovers in the third and fourth quarter to seal the game. If you're up 17-0, and you're at home in the NFC Championship game, you know what? You guys are all missing a key factor that Harbaugh is just better than Baltimore Harbaugh. But you know what? It all comes down to the heart of a champion, man. I mean, you can think of any Super Bowl team. They were never allowed to be up 17 points in the NFC Championship game. Let me finish my point, though. Up 17 points at home in the NFC Championship game. If you're a heart of a champion, if you got that heart, you're not going to lose that game. So basically, the moral of the story is Atlanta is not a championship team. I'm not even just talking about them. I'm talking about any team. This could be anybody. The chapter's closed, buddy. The chapter's closed on that. They lost. Again, I don't know why you're still talking about that. Who is the best coach in the Super Bowl? San Francisco Harbaugh. It's a Harbaugh. He's blatantly over Baltimore Harbaugh. Tell me I'm wrong. I don't know about that. Okay. That's what I'm saying. I don't know about that. But the reason why I'm talking about that is I've been in that situation for like 3 years straight, and the other one been there for 2 years straight, right? Won the championship game.
Oh yeah. He lost to Pittsburgh.
Was in the championship game last year.
Yeah, they lost to Pittsburgh one year in the AFC Championship, and then last year they lost to New England.
Wait a minute. Which one of them played football? Because one didn't play. One played. John was the quarterback.
Yeah, John. Yep.
San Francisco's got all the experience. Baltimore does not.
I mean,
that's my whole point of bringing that up when I was talking about the Harvard champion. When you're talking about that, you got to remember again, like you said, San Francisco, they was able to pull it out in Atlanta. But again, ain't nobody from San Francisco right now been in the Super Bowl. Ray Lewis has, and like Ray said earlier, he's like the opinion of the defense. That's gonna be a major team. I thought Ray was in the Super Bowl too. No, how much he said? Neither one of them was in there in 2000. No, I thought they played for a different team. I thought they all played Minnesota on a different team. No, every don't have a ring though.
Yeah.
That was my reason of bringing that whole thing up, the heart of a champion, man. Because if you don't have that, you're gonna see what happens to a ring position. Same exact thing. This is a Super Bowl, but he didn't play it though. But he did it. The black offensive coordinator for Baltimore. He used to go to
Caldwell.
Oh
yeah, Caldwell.
Yeah.
Now, and that brings to the whole who's better, which Harbaugh is better. And, they both made critical changes in the season. You had Jim Harbaugh with the whole, Alex Smith or Colin Kaepernick. And then you had the Baltimore, John Harbaugh, firing Cam Cameron to get Caldwell. Yeah, so, and then the offense took off after putting Caldwell as the offensive coordinator. He was the quarterback coach before that. So, and this is first time ever calling plays. So that was a gutsy move as a coach, to go ahead and.
But it wasn't more gutsy as Bishop Alex Smith, who hadn't lost a damn thing.
That's true. That is true. That's definitely up for debate.
If everyone on the phone was CEO and owner, and both coaches were up for interview next week, almost the same day, who would you hire? But you know what? I can't go off of that because that's been done before, Kevin. Do you remember Tom Brady? He took Drew Bledsoe. I'm answering your question if you let me talk. Tom Brady did the same exact thing, but he took over for Drew Bledsoe. So I can't give a coach an edge because he basically did what somebody else already did previously. What the Harbaugh did with Caldwell was something unique and different and never heard from before. You don't fire your offensive coordinator when you're trying to make the playoffs. When you're on that playoff run, you don't do that. That's something that ain't never been done. So he was something that I'm still unclear on who you would pick. With my answer, I'm going with Baltimore first. I'm going with Jim. I'm not going to go with John. Yeah, but you realize you're wrong because Tom Brady won a playoff game, and Harbaugh benched Alex Smith in week 3, 4, 5. No, Drew Bledsoe. Okay. No. That's exactly the same. Drew Bledsoe was hurt in the regular season game. Tom Brady took over in the regular season, just like Kaepernick. It was like the last damn game of the season. If they won that game against Pittsburgh, they go. Drew Bledsoe got hurt. Kevin, no, that wasn't the case. Drew Bledsoe was hurt for like 5 weeks. I mean, he's back. Randy, you're talking about Wilson because when Bledsoe got hurt, Tom Brady came in, won a few games, and then Tom Brady got hurt. Bledsoe came in and won the game to send him to the Super Bowl, and he benched him on the start of the Super Bowl and put Tom Brady back in. But ain't that the same scenario? It was playoff atmosphere of football when the whole thing happened. It was the end of the season in the first place. So it's all the same thing, man. If you go ahead and bench your starting quarterback, which, like you said, for the whole season, and then you go ahead and put another dude in, ain't that the same thing we're talking about with Kaepernick? No, because Alex Smith is 11-5 as a starter, and so you're telling me you will go ahead and give it to John Harbaugh just because he did that. Basically, that's basically what you're telling me. If you're a CEO of a team, you were going to go ahead and give it a job because he made that move. That's basically what we tell him. No, I'm not saying somebody who did something. You should be coaching players. They don't matter. You just stop talking and move to the next guy because I'm kind of tired of listening to this. No, but basically, because every time I say something, you cut me off. If you let me finish, you can go right ahead and do what you got to do. What I'm saying is, the reason why the question was, who would you pick if you were CEO? And I said I would go with Jim based on what he did was original. And nobody else in the league has never done it. We've seen it before in New England. What week it was, we've seen it. So I'm not going to go ahead and, as CEO, go ahead and give a dude a position because he did something that's copycat. Now you can go ahead and say what you got to say. Okay, which coach would you take? Baltimore coach. I already said that.
Yeah, I mean, I could make. I mean, I guess you can make cases for both. Yeah, I guess you can make a case for both because. No, yeah, I think you can make a case for both though, because.
Kevin, you're absolutely right. Baltimore, the same team, which everybody is in which we don't say in unison. Muslim is playing with a whole bunch of new players that they're just now gelling together this year. So I'm going to Baltimore. Anything that you say right now, you got your team. We got our team. Let him get his point. I want to hear what he had to say.
No.
Down the running game and coach. Let him talk. I want to hear what he has to say.
No.
You already said the same thing over and over again, man. Let me hear what he has to say.
No. I mean, all I was gonna say is like you can make a case for Jim Harbaugh as well, though. For the 49ers because he took over a team that Mike Singletary had. A couple years ago, they were underachieving. And they didn't make the playoffs at all. And he comes in his first year, take them to the NFC Championship game. Then the next year, he gets them to the Super Bowl. So I mean, it's kind of tough, man. They just both great coaches. I believe because
You can't coach with them. Can't live with them.
Yeah.
Nothing with that team, and now they're in the Super Bowl. That's not what he said. That's not what he said. Don't dog me for it. He was talking about. He did say that. He was talking about Vernon Davis. He said you can't. Don't try to correct yourself. When I'm just letting you know. He didn't talk about the team. He talked about the attitude that Davis displayed. Okay, but ain't Davis in the Super Bowl today? Well, that's the whole point. He did it 5 years ago. That was only 3 seasons ago. You did not have that attitude on my team. Kevin, that was only 2 years ago. Ray just said it. They went to the NFC Championship where Harbaugh was here, and now they're in the Super Bowl. All I'm saying is don't condemn Mike Singletary for doing exactly what he's supposed to do. That kind of attitude has no room on any NFL. No. If anything, we could say sure that they wasn't playing for Mike Singletary. I didn't understand what point you're making. I don't understand the point that you're making. Because if he's talking, if you be quiet and let me finish, you will understand. I mean, how you going to ask somebody a question and then no one will hear the answer? You want to hear this? What I was saying was what Ray's point was basically saying they just didn't want to play for him because in 2 years they're in the Super Bowl with the same team. Again, you're wrong. Play for him. Don't condemn Mike Singletary. All he did was call out a player for not putting forth the best effort. But Kevin, they didn't make the playoffs. Nobody just talk about that quote. They not make the playoffs. No, wait, hold up. They did not make the playoffs, Kevin. So you tell me, think that quote after they lost, after they were excluded from the playoffs. No, they didn't. They were just not running games. Listen to what I'm saying, though. If you have the questions understanding what's going on, what I'm saying is, what Mike Singletary was saying, he claimed that team wasn't listening. They wasn't motivated to play for him. He wasn't talking about the team. He was talking about a player's attitude. What player's attitude? What player's confidence? What I'm saying is this point, period. Just listen. The reason why I'm saying this is Mike Singletary has the same team basically that's in the Super Bowl right now. So you're telling me, listen, let me finish, Troy, before y'all say anything. Let me finish my point. Again, Mike Singletary had the basic same team that he has right now. Not really. Okay, but so how do this team 2 years later is in the Super Bowl and last year in the NFC Championship and they couldn't play for Mike Singletary? That's what I was saying. I said that quote because he was talking about Vernon Davis, but Vernon Davis was part of the problem that's in the Super Bowl today. First of all, because they weren't no matter what you say, I don't care what anybody says. I don't know the numbers. They didn't want to play for Mike theoretically. They didn't want to play for him. And they didn't want to play for him. Am I cutting you off? If you feel that way so much about Mike Singletary, you should have called Buffalo and asked them down here to come along. Come on, man. I mean, if you really don't sit up here and be thought about Mike Singletary like he's I'm not talking to you. Nobody said the word Mike Singletary until you said it. No, they said it. No, they said it wasn't motivated for Mike Singletary, and I agree. Right. Mike Singletary basically made Davis career. He called him out the last per client, and I'm sure he's been battling. Because before he wanted to do another Mike Singletary, that's right. I'm not just talking about the Vernon Davis situation, I'm talking about the whole team. The team was in the Super Bowl, and Vernon Davis. It was not the same team, though. It was a three quarterback. They didn't have Randy Moss. They didn't have a Michael James. Who did they have? They didn't have a Michael James. Players they got making plays. Who was Andre Smith the year he made that statement? They didn't have Randy Moss last year in the NFC Championship. He had 40 sacks this season. He does not have the same team. So they had Randy Moss last year. So did they have Randy Moss last year? The same thing. This year. Did they have Randy Moss last year? First you had us to give you your time to talk, and then you won't shut up. Because you're not right. I mean, if you're going to, I'm talking facts, though. I'm talking about the team that they, I'm talking about, when you talk about 90% of the players, they work on that team. I'm not talking, of course, every year, somebody's going to be missing. That's in football, period. I'm not stupid. I know nothing. I know you're finished. So what I'm trying to tell you is, when I say majority of the team, I'm talking about 90% of the players. And you can't tell me that's a lie. 90% did not have a They had all the other things over. Did they have a Michael James? Did they have Colin Kaepernick? Did they have Andre Smith in 2012? Did they have them? Yes or no? No.
Yeah, no. What's the scores, y'all? Of the Super Bowl? What? I give you mine.
I'm gonna start this off right here.
All right.
I'm gonna go ahead and give it to you. The Super Bowl score will be Baltimore 24 and San Francisco 21. I'm gonna go with San Francisco 34. He totally went on negative 15. Okay. All right. I'm going to say 28 to 24 Niners. I'm going 21 to 17 Baltimore.
I'm gonna go 27-23 Baltimore.
That's what's up.
Yep.
Thank you so much for joining us for another edition of ForRealSportsFans.com podcast. Fellas, we had a wonderful discussion today. And to all you listeners, I definitely want you all to go to www.ForRealSportsFans.com to get the latest in sports. Thank you so much. And until next time, best of luck to your teams.